Welcome to Africa's Vision Network. My name is Omar Ashaka, your guest host. The title of our program is Thomas Andrew Dorsey, the founder of Black Gospel Music. Our special guest is Miss Robin Oliver, a musical angel. She's also very active with the National Convention of Gospel Choirs and Choruses. Welcome, Robin.
Welcome. Thank you.
It's really a pleasure to have you here, and I'm excited about this interview, as well as very excited about hearing you sing. But tell our audience a little bit about Robin Oliver. I'll start by saying you are our very special church secretary at Bethesda Baptist Church, which is pastored by our great pastor, Michael Wayne Palmer, Sr. What else would you like the audience to know about you before we get started? Where are you from, for example?
I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I moved to D.C. in 1985.
Okay.
I enjoy singing.
And I believe you mentioned to me you started singing
At
very
the age
young.
at the age of 8.
Okay. And you also majored in music?
I started out as a voice major, and then somewhere within this first year of school, I was told not to sing for a while, so I switched my major to education.
Okay. Just curious, do you mind sharing why you were told not to sing? I mean, was it?
I was having some chest pains,
Okay.
and so they
All right.
didn't want to interfere with a lot of things.
Okay. Well, Robin, first of all, I'm going to talk about the early musical career of Thomas A. Dorsey. And then we'll get into talking about the National Convention of Choirs and Choruses. But Thomas A. Dorsey, such a fascinating musician. He was born in, I believe it's called Villa Rica, Georgia, on July 1st, 1899. And he was a blues band leader for singers like Ma Rainey.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I never heard of Ma Rainey, but I was talking to my friend Memphis Gold, and he said, oh yeah, she was quite a blues sister. But an event happened to Thomas A. Dorsey that led him to stop performing blues, and he started writing gospel songs. But we'll talk about that a little later. Robin, tell us a little bit about the National Convention of Choirs and Choruses. You mentioned that you first went to one, I guess, in 2007,
Yes.
and you just finished the one in Baltimore, 2017, so about 10 years. Share with us your experience in attending some of these conventions.
I was asked to go join a chapter, so you have to belong to a chapter to be able to go to the convention. And I was a member of Washington Unity, one of the oldest chapters in the convention. So going to the convention, you take classes, to vocal classes, history classes, and then you just sign up for which choir you want to sing with. One rehearses during the afternoon, which is the mass choir, and the alumni choir rehearses from 11 o'clock at night to 1 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And so there's concerts within a week's time. The alumni's concerts usually on Wednesday nights, and the mass choir is Thursday night, and the children and the preteens on Friday night.
Okay. Well, what's interesting about this convention, Robin, I believe it was started in, was it back in 1932?
I'm not quite sure when it was started, but they would go from home, people's houses to stay in.
Okay. But this was the 84th?
This was the 84th year.
So for 84 years, this convention has been going on.
It has.
And it was started by the late Thomas A. Dorsey.
Correct.
And I was doing a little research, and from what I understand, he wanted to bring emotion, more of an emotional input, I guess, from the audience, from singers. And so from what I read, he kind of went from the blues to the gospel, and it's kind of like a mix of the two. Now, hopefully I'm not messing that up, but bottom line, he wanted to get, I almost want to say like a call and response. I'm not sure if that would be the right term, but I know in some gospel music, they kind of set it up whereby there would be more engagement by the audience. So I'm not sure if you can comment on that.
No, I cannot.
Okay.
I was not blessed to really sit up under him.
Hmm.
By the time I went to the convention, he had already passed. So most of the songs are stories, and if anyone had experienced any of those things, then yes, the emotion's there. But if you have not, then you're a little lost.
Okay. Well, and we're going to get into the particulars in terms of the event that caused him to start writing gospel music. But with the convention, Robin, you've been going for 10 years, and there are a lot of what I would call like-minded people, people who appreciate music. Um, when we were driving over here, you even mentioned the name James Cleveland.
Correct.
Can you share with the audience a little bit about his role?
James Cleveland came out of the National Convention of Gospel Choirs and Choruses. They branched off. So I believe the Gospel Music Workshop is 50 years old, but they learned under the great man of Thomas Dorsey.
Wow. So, Robin, how do you feel? Like, I mean, you were just in Baltimore last weekend, and this would be a nice time to thank you because you had my youngest daughter, Zora. She was able to be under your guidance. But what was it like that whole week of classes, of singing? I mean, and in the 84th convention, I mean, how would you describe that?
It's a different atmosphere for me for that week. Basically, I am usually in bed by 9 o'clock.
Okay.
But during the week of convention, I'm up at 4, and I don't go to bed till after midnight. But it's a fulfilled week, and I'm not tired. There's a 7 o'clock morning service that I made every day when it happened. Consecration is probably the kickoff of to get it to know what you need to have for the week, to prepare yourself, to humble yourself, to say, Lord, this is what I want to do this week. Mm-hmm. I want to get filled off of consecration to just carry me through the week. So this sets the tone. The speaker, usually whatever they talk about, each preacher after that for every morning service, it seemed that I don't know if they got together and had the same topic, but they all managed to be right on point.
So you see a lot of humility? Because, you know, even with humbleness, that's kind of hard to find in churches sometimes. But so you see that at the convention as a common denominator for the most part?
If you go looking for it, you'll find it. But if you don't, then it's like, well, that wasn't for you. I go to see what I can receive. And so as long as I come out with something, I'm happy.
Well, I think that's a great answer. How about the children? How would you describe the experience for the children? And obviously, for 84 years, because I'm assuming some of these participants now were once children and
right.
they've gone over the years. Can you talk about that briefly?
The children, well, I'll start with the older generation who started as children. They are bringing their children now. And so they have reaped the benefits and seen what they got out of it. And so the many songwriters that were there as young people are now out there. Jason Claiborne is writing for other people, and he started out with the children. The overseer, was Bell.
Reverend Bell.
Reverend Bell, he started out, and he said at age 13, and he was over it.
Well, that's interesting because Reverend Bell, of course, was the host.
But the host
in Baltimore,
correct.
And considering he started out as a child, that says a lot about him. Next year, I believe it will be in Texas. The year before last, it was in Kentucky.
Correct.
You've been going for 10 years. Is there usually anything different that might stand out? For example, when you went to Kentucky last year, was there something that may have stood out in Baltimore that was a little different from Kentucky? Or
Baltimore was very relaxed, but it was a overpowering experience that there was no confusion. It was like the power of God was in every service. Not like it's in all of the services for every year I've been, but things started on time, ended on time, and it was like good clockwork.
Well, time is really moving, Robin. So,
Bless the
because I know
Father.
you said you are a singer and you're not a talker.
Correct.
We had a performance at our church, Bethesda Baptist Church, though. Which chapter was that of the National Convention?
The District of Columbia Choral Union,
Okay. And I believe they were celebrating their first
their
year?
first anniversary, yes.
Right. Okay. And are there any other chapters in the D.C. area?
There's Washington Unity, the oldest, then Chesapeake, District of Columbia Choral Union, and then that's it for DC.
Okay. And I believe the National Convention, are they constantly trying to recruit new chapters? Or can,
You can join any chapter that you can get to, but if you're so far out and you can't get to a chapter, then there's a process that you can get a chapter for yourself.
you establish a chapter?
Correct.
Right. Okay. Thomas A. Dorsey, I've seen some videos of him, and like I said, I was shocked to learn about Thomas A. Dorsey because I would get confused with the big band leader, Thomas Dorsey. And in doing my research, I found that there was quite a bit of confusion sometimes on the web with people writing different articles. For example, I have something that I'll read a little later. It's related to Thomas A. Dorsey, but they talked about how he loved jazz. But from what I understand, he was a blues lover, and it was Thomas Dorsey, the big band leader, that loved jazz. But it was really interesting to see Reverend Dorsey in his older age directing the choirs. I mean, his little signature using his finger was quite interesting to watch. But it was amazing to see a man as old as he was at the time to still have that passion for music. But Robin, I called you a musical angel, and I believe our audience will see that when you sing. What makes you sing the way you sing?
It gives me peace. So when I can't find the words, there's always a nice melody, a story in a song. And if someone else has already written a song that will help myself in whatever situation I'm going through.
Well, Robin, we've had a lot of musicians on our show, and I've always shared with many of them, God has given all of us special gifts and assignments, but musicians have some truly, I'm not going to say demanding assignments, but very critical assignments, because whether you're singing or whether you're playing, it can touch someone's heart. And even Stevie Wonder, I saw him on a show, and he was talking about, he was actually reaching out to the musicians, excuse me, saying that we have to make songs that will make our world better.
Right.
And obviously with Thomas A. Dorsey, he's been known to write I believe over 1,000 gospel songs. And I think they mentioned something like 400 blues songs. One of the ones you'll be singing later on is Precious Lord, Take My Hand. And we'll be sharing with our audience what was behind that song. But I was amazed to see the many different people who were singing it. Mm-hmm. Elvis Presley, Aretha Franklin, a whole lot of other gospel groups, and country music singers. So it's such a powerful, powerful song. And I have no way of knowing, but I often wonder how many people have been able to regain strength and continue to want to live on from hearing that song. Because what we will hear is that song allowed Thomas A. Dorsey to continue to want to live. Let me just ask you this. I want to give a plug to his grandson, Thomas A. Dorsey III. And I hope that maybe we can get him back on the show, if his fee is not too high. But we know that he's starting a foundation, and I don't expect you to respond, but I'm just going to mention I know he's starting a foundation. And Robin, I just want to say, personally, for a convention to be around 85 years, because of Thomas A. Dorsey starting that. I mean, it's just awesome. And it's just so great to know that his grandson and his daughter, I believe, Dorsey, I believe, I know she spoke at one of the events they had, I think this past summer in Chicago, some kind of festival I read about. But hopefully, even with this show, more people will know about Thomas A. Dorsey. But you've been to the conventions. Is there anything else that you might want to add, though, that have really impressed you about what you've learned about Thomas A. Dorsey?
If anyone goes to the convention, when they come back, they'll be different than when they left.
In what way?
To know the true value of the singing and some of the groups bringing back hymns and the importance of young people learning hymns.
Now, can you expound on that just a little bit? You said the importance of young people learning about hymns.
Because some churches now, some musicians don't play hymns at all. But in the convention, the young adults make sure in the songs that they teach, they incorporate hymns. Some of the other things were like rap, but it's still talking about Jesus. Mm-hmm. So they're reaching the wide range. Okay. Because they even stated that when Precious Lord was written, it's possible that it didn't fit that era, but it's a big hit now.
Robin, do you know, I mean, this has been going on for 85 years. Do you know if there's been any widespread television coverage, CNN, NBC, CBS?
That I'm not sure. I've never seen a camera crew during the conventions. Mm-hmm. But people YouTube it, you know.
Well, let me bring up one other quick point about when I looked at the YouTubes. It's just something that caught my eye. Excuse me. I looked at the version by Elvis Presley, and there were about 200,000 hits. I guess that's what they call it, views. 200,000. But I looked at some of the other YouTube versions with maybe Thomas A. Dorsey or some of the choirs from his church. 3,000. And some of the other groups that are singing. I mean, it's just amazing how many other groups are singing this song. But it just kind of struck me to see such a smaller number with the African-American versions of the song compared to the Elvis Presley and some of the other groups. And I know you had, as a former music major, I know you kind of gave me your opinion on that. Because music may be viewed maybe differently by different groups, but do you want to comment on that? And you don't have to, because I know you're a singer, not a talker.
Correct.
But that caught me, that caught my attention. 200,000 views and more on some of the other groups. And that's why I'm so happy about this show, and we hope to maybe get the grandson, because this man was special.
Right.
I mean, we look at Mahalia Jackson when she sings the song.
Yeah.
She always brings me to tears when she's singing. But did you want to comment on that in terms of the views?
I'll pass on that.
You're going to pass on it?
I'm going to pass on
Okay.
that.
Right. Well, let me read this, Robin. A friend of Africa's Vision Network, he's been on the show. He's a blues musician, Memphis Gold. I asked Memphis to give me his definition of gospel, the term gospel. Because doing my research, Robin, it does seem like different people define it differently. And again, he's the current blues player, performer. Here's what he said in his email. He said, gospel has always intrigued me because it has always given me the same experience when I do the blues. He said, I come away from both feeling a sense of, it's kind of interesting, he said, feeling a sense of guilt. I'm supposed to be uplifted from doing wrong, and on the other, I'm uplifted from singing songs like the blues. Let me try that again, because I'm reading what he has here. And I'll try to translate it. He said, it's like the song, if loving you is wrong, I don't want to do right. If being right means living without you, I'd rather be wrong doing right. This is what Memphis is saying. Let me translate it to make it sound a little simpler. He has told me that when he's playing and singing the blues, he feels guilty because he feels like maybe he's not doing God's work. And this was a very recent admission. And I know he's struggling now. He's performing as a blues player. But that's the struggle that he has. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because in my little brief research with Thomas A. Dorsey, I believe he was having that same kind of struggle, but then this very tragic event took place in his life. But I just wanted to, because I personally know Memphis, and when he's talking to me, and he's saying, Omar, sometimes I feel guilty when I'm playing the blues. Did you want to comment on that?
Well, blues and gospel, he's right. It sort of goes together like even a good sermon. If the preacher's stepping on your feet, you got to get your toes out the way. But it's like if you've given your life to Christ and your means of income is playing the blues, you will get convicted every time you do it. So it's the same with gospel. It's like if I want to sing gospel, then I need to be 100% in God's hands. I can't say, well, okay, Lord, I'll sing for you on Sunday and give you 100%, but on Saturday I'm going to the club and sing because they pay me more money over there. And then it's like I'm going to be convicted when I try to sing on Sunday. And then I may be convicted on Saturday and it turned into singing something for church on a Saturday night, and that's not what the people came to see.
Well, that's interesting, Robin. And I'm going to, because I know we're going to probably get to wrap up this segment. So you say the performer can become convicted. Do you think God take it beyond conviction? In other words, if we sin, we pay a price for our sin. I'm not saying that singing the blues is a sin, but if you're convicted, I guess I'm curious, do you think that it could go a step further than just conviction where you pay a price? And let me take it a step further and make it real clear. As you were talking, I thought about Whitney Houston, who we knew grew up in the church. But as time went on, we know that you know the story.
Right.
How her life changed. And I guess, I'm a babe in Christ, but that question just kind of popped in my mind. Does God take it further than just convicting you if you're doing something maybe every blues musician is not supposed to be singing for the Lord, but maybe some of them are, and those are the ones that struggle, but maybe they don't take heed to that.
Well, I'm not God, so I can't answer what he thinks or what his plans are for anyone. It's the individual. They have to make that choice.
Love your response, Ron. Real quick, you said when you sing, you get peace. You find peace.
I find peace.
So does that mean when you're not singing? Well, let me ask you this. Do you ever sing secular songs? I mean, not other songs other than gospel music?
Sometimes.
Okay. By chance, do you recall, did that give you peace or did it not give you peace?
It was for a wedding that someone wanted, but it was like, well, you got to get 2 songs. You're going to get the Lord's Prayer, definite, and then I'll give you the other one. But there's more passion in the Lord's Prayer than for the other song.
So that's fascinating. You have a love for God, and He's given you the gift to sing. Well, Robin, we're going to get ready to, we got a few more minutes, and then we're going to let you sing. And you've chosen 3 songs. One is Highway to Heaven.
It's a highway to
It's
heaven.
a Highway to Heaven. The other one is...
We've come this far by faith.
Okay, and then the last one to close out the show will be Precious Lord, Take My Hand. Other than Precious Lord, Take My Hand, were there any particular reasons why you selected the other 2?
The convention always sings it's a highway to heaven.
Okay.
And we've come this far by faith. I remember singing in church growing up. That was always one of the processionals. No matter what, somebody's going to say, we've come this far by faith.
Now, at the convention, Highway to Heaven, it's a Highway to Heaven. Is that An opening for the convention or a closing?
Anytime somebody wants to sing it,
Oh, okay. So, so it can be sung multiple times.
it can be sung multiple times, yes. Because there's a devotional praise and worship before every service.
Okay. And I can't recall, is that a Thomas A. Dorsey song?
Highway to Heaven is,
Okay,
yes.
interesting. By chance, in these few couple of minutes left, do you remember any of the other songs that he wrote? Um,
Peace in the Valley was one of his.
okay. Say Amen, right? Is that a song or was that?
Oh, that's the name of the
That's the name of
video.
the- oh, it's the name of the video?
That's
Okay.
the video.
All right, well, thank you.
Say
Help
Amen,
me on that.
somebody.
Somebody, okay.
Yeah.
Can you briefly talk about that?
It's
The video?
the video, I believe, is a clipping of the beginning stages of when they would go. They would have different people talking about when they would go around the different cities and have the conventions, and they would have clippings of I think the O'Neill twins were in there, and I cannot remember the other names. I watch it, and they
Okay.
would show a consecration service. That
Okay.
would be ideal.
We have 3 minutes, Robin. I'll just say this. Now, Reverend Dorsey, he played the piano.
I'm not sure what yes, he did. He
Okay.
did play the piano. I do
Yeah.
remember that.
And one thing I'd add, his second wife, and her name was it Kat?
I think it was Catherine.
Okay. It was interesting reading about her because she was the one who insisted that he start selling his sheet music. So it was interesting to see how she played a role in his life. And also for those fraternity members who might be watching our show, I was surprised to see that he was a member of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity.
Okay.
And I'm not a member, but I figured I'd give a plug for Omega Psi Phi fraternity. Well, Robin, we're going to get ready to close out this segment,
Okay.
and we're going to let you perform the 2 selections
Okay.
because I'm going to say a little bit about Thomas Dorsey before you sing the final closeout song,
Okay.
Precious Lord, Take My Hand. But thank you very much. Great
Thank you.
answers.
Thank
and
you.
we're looking forward to hearing you sing.
All right.
And we'd like for our audience to just stay with us until the musical angel comes back and share a few special songs with us.
It's a highway to heaven. None can walk up there but the pure in heart. It's a highway to heaven. I am walking up the King's highway. If you're not walking, start while I'm talking, walking up the King's highway. There's joy in knowing with him I'm going, walking up the King's highway. It's a highway to heaven. None can walk up there but the pure in heart. It's a highway to heaven. I am walking up the King's highway. If you're not walking, start while I'm talking, walking up the King's highway. There's joy in knowing with him I'm going, walking up the King's highway. It's a highway to heaven. None can walk up there but the pure in heart. It's a highway to heaven. I am walking up the King's highway. We've come this far by faith, leaning on the Lord, trusting in his holy word. He's never failed me yet. We've come this far by faith. Just the other day, I heard a man say he didn't believe in God's word. But I can truly say the Lord has made a way. He's never failed me yet. That's why we've come this far by faith. Leaning on the Lord, trusting in His holy word. He's never failed me yet. Singing no, can't turn around. We've come this far by faith.
Thomas A. Dorsey is a new hero for me. The songs that he wrote that has touched so many lives over so many years. There are a couple people that I'd like to dedicate Precious Lord, Take My Hand, dedicate that song to. Bill Weisner, who normally helps us on the set here at Arlington Independent Media, is recovering from some health challenges. This song by Thomas A. Dorsey is so powerful, I want to dedicate it to Bill. I want to also dedicate it to the people who lost their lives in Charlotte, Virginia, just yesterday. There are many stories about how Thomas A. Dorsey, wrote the song, Precious Lord, Take My Hand. I'm going to share with you some information that I researched that perhaps is quite accurate as to how he came up with that song. And I'll be reading it as though I'm Tommy A. Dorsey. And it goes like this. Back in 1932, I was 32 years old and a fairly new husband. My wife, Nettie, and I were living in a little apartment on Chicago's South Side. One hot August afternoon, which happens to be 85 years ago this month, I had to go to St. Louis, where I was to be featured as a soloist at a large revival meeting. I didn't want to go. Nettie was in the last month of her pregnancy with our first child. But a lot of people were expecting me in St. Louis. I kissed Nettie goodbye, clattered downstairs to our Model A car, and in a fresh Lake Michigan breeze, chugged out of Chicago on Route 66. However, outside the city, I discovered that in my anxiety at leaving, I had forgotten my music case. I wheeled around and headed back. I found Nettie sleeping peacefully. I hesitated by her bed. Something was strongly telling me to stay. But eager to get on my way and not wanting to disturb Nettie, I shrugged off the feeling and quietly slipped out of the room with my music. The next night, in the steaming St. Louis heat, the crowd called on me to sing again and again. When I finally sat down, a messenger boy ran up with a Western Union telegram. I ripped open the envelope, Pasted on the yellow sheet were the words, "Your wife just died." People were happily singing and clapping around me, but I could hardly keep from crying out. I rushed to a phone and called home. All I could hear on the other end was, "Nettie is dead. Nettie is dead." When I got back, I learned that Nettie had given birth to a boy. I swung between grief and joy. Yet that night, the baby died. I buried Nettie and our little boy together in the same casket. Then I fell apart. For days I closeted myself. I felt that God had done an injustice. I didn't want to serve him anymore or write gospel songs. I just wanted to go back to the blues world I once knew so well. But then, as I hunched alone in that dark apartment for those first sad days, I thought back to the afternoon I went to St. Louis. Something kept telling me to stay with Nettie. Was that something God? Oh, if I had paid more attention to him that day, I would have stayed and been with Nettie when she died. From that moment on, I vowed to listen more closely to him. But still I was lost in grief. Everyone was kind to me, especially a friend, Professor Fry, who seemed to know what I needed. On the following Saturday evening, he took me up to Madame Malone's poorer college, a neighborhood music school. It was quiet. Late in the evening, the sun crept through the curtained window. I sat down at the piano and my hands began to browse over the keys. Something happened to me. Then I felt at peace. I felt as though I could reach out and touch God. I found myself playing a melody, one I had never heard or played before. And the words into my head, they just seemed to fall in place. Precious Lord, take my hand. Lead me on. Let me stand. I am tired. I am weak. I am worn through the storm. Through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. The Lord gave me these words in melody. And let me add, at first, we thought we would just say, Lord. But then something said, no, make it precious Lord. The Lord gave him those words and melody. Thomas A. Dorsey said at that time he felt his spirit had been healed. He went on to say, I learned that when we are in our deepest grief, when we feel furthest from God, this is when he is closest. And when we are most open to his restoring power. And so I go on living for God, willingly and joyfully, until that day comes when he will take me and gently lead me home.
Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired. I am weak. I am worn through the storm, through the night. Lead me on to that light. Take my hand, precious Lord, and lead me home when my way grows drear. Precious Lord, linger near when my life is almost gone. At the river I stand, guide my feet and hold my hand. Take my hand, precious Lord, and lead me home.
I don't know anyone that has written songs as heart-searching as Thomas A. Dorsey. They come out of experience in him. That's what he says. There's no song that could equal Precious Lord. He wrote Precious Lord when he was discouraged and his spirit was broken.
It was in a revival, and my wife was to become a mother. I went away with the feeling that she'd make a lovely, lovely mother when I came back. I knew my people were well when I left home, and they sent for me to come to the door. A boy brought me in a telegram. I took it and read it. I almost fell out. It says, "Hurry home. Your wife just died." I don't know how you would accept that, but I couldn't accept it at all. And a friend of mine put me in the car and took me right home. I got home, I jumped out and ran in to see if it was really true. And one of the girls started crying and said, "Nettie just died, Nettie just died, Nettie just died," and fell in the floor. The baby was left alive, but in the next 2 days, the baby died. Now, what should I do then and there? And then they tried to tell me things that would be soothing to me. But none of it's never been soothing to me from that day to this day. But two fellows come by, I forget their names, they were friends of mine. And they were telling me about it, and I says, I don't know what to do, and I don't know how to do. And I just tried to make my little talk to the Lord, but it was wasting, I think. And I called the Lord one thing, and one of the others says, no, that's not his name. Say, precious Lord. I said, that just sounds good. And it's got several amens on precious Lord. And ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not, I started singing right then and there. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, and let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn.
Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Oh, take my hand, precious Lord, and lead me on.
Just lead me home, wherever that is. If you don't lead me home, lead me until I reach home. All right, let's go. Precious Lord, I love your name. When I look back from whence I came, sometimes stumbling, sometimes falling, sometimes alone. Friends and loved ones I love so dear. Many are gone, but still I'm here. Take my hand, precious Lord, and lead me on. How are you? Let's go. Come on. Hit it. Watch it. Watch it, watch it. Amen. Amen.
I believe that Mr. Dorsey have accomplished what he set out to do. And when God gets ready for the time clock to stop, there won't be no more Dorsey. But the things he done will live on.
On to the light.